Well, y'all, it's the last day of 2024. What can I say? Oh, what can I say? This year was crazy, right? Crazy. I hope y'all are doing all right, man. I haven't been on Instagram in quite a while. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining in. Oh, I'm happy to have some people to share what's kind of on my heart with, because to be honest, I haven't been posting much in a while because I really do have a heaviness on my heart regarding where we are, where we're located in the whole grand scheme of time, where a lot of my friends and peers are, just at with the whole research and the truth and the whole living through the wake of waking up to the world that we live in, not being like we're told. So tonight I'm going to kind of hop straight to it. Maybe I'll take some questions if there's time. I don't want to make it, I always say every time, I don't want to make this too long. But the reason I'm coming on is just because I think the last time I actually posted something on my channel was the night of the election. So that's November 4th. We're about 4 days away from January 4th. So it's almost been 2 months. Karen Bolin, yes, the land is still livable, thankfully. But, oh, that's what I was going to get. This my little outline. Made a little outline so I can stick to some sort of order of things. But I think what's happening is, important to convey. So backing up, I feel, and I've taken some time over the last couple of months to get a little bit more clear interpersonally as to what I'm here to do, what I want to talk about, what I'm interested in, what I feel helpful talking about. Because what I am not interested in doing is just, leveling up on social media or repeating the latest news headlines or talking points, or just musing on things and being like, tell me what you think. I don't mind people do that. Plenty of people do that. So I decided to take a different approach with my channel. And I kind of kickstarted this whole thing off with COVID and when it first started, but I quickly realized they're not going to really let me say everything I want to say. And eventually it's like people ain't really listening anyway. Their fears and their lack of what they know, which generates fear, is the emotion that seems to be the most powerful needle mover these days, y'all. And I kind of just hit a point where I was like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to watch. So for my friends, IRL, real life friends, a lot of y'all know me, and I'm not been like absent from the world, but I've definitely been absent from Instagram. I've been doing a lot of reading and a lot of watching. And I think what I feel called to do is really take everything that is coalescing in my mind about the way that the world is shaping up right now and try to condense that and present that, a condensed presentation that I'm hoping is quick enough to be, digestible. So what I'm going to do is I've got some handy dandy graphics here. All right, we're going to talk about these things, but I want to talk primarily, at least initially, about this graphic. Now, I think this is inverted. In fact, let me see if I can actually flip this. Flip it for me one time. Can y'all see this? This seems better, right? Anybody in the comment section, if you can see this, let me know. And I'm going to point some things out on this particular diagram that I drew up, because the point is for, I guess, me to help clarify. Yeah, we'll talk about, okay, so you can't see it. We'll talk about what the chart means, but the point is for me to help clarify for people why any one of these little segments along this block, all right, I'll read them out. Food, pharma, education, entertainment, politics and government, technology or the tech industry, history, and religion. And I'm categorizing the subject matter in these buckets because these, as a broad brushstroke, are the general buckets by which control structures seem to have their tentacles into the people. And the way this flows is really from the center outward, meaning money, like just ignore this half of the page for a second. Centralized money, and this is really a computer representing the internet, is essentially the body, the thorax, the abdomen of this however many legged spider that is all of these industries, the FDA, the Department of Education, Hollywood, the HHS and DHS and Homeland Security and the Pentagon, all that, the technology sector. Tonight we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the two sections that you see here darkened out. History, this is another big pivot and a big important one we're going to talk about a little. I'm not going to talk too much tonight about religion, but I will be mentioning it briefly. And food, I'll explain what I mean by this chart. What's really happening and what I feel like I really want to help understand for people is, or I should say help digest for people, is we are in a war. I've said this before. I believe we're in war. I believe time will look back and history will reflect that the time that we're in now, especially one day before 2025, would be considered within the brackets of a war. I won't label it World War III, who knows? But the point is, if anybody focuses on any one of these blocks within this circle, any one of them, you're missing the bigger picture, maybe is the simplest, nicest way to put it. Well, the reason I say that is because I think what's happening here is a pretty heavy compartmentalization has happened where experts in any one of these categories are great. They give you great insights into some of the nitty gritty of what's going on in these industries, but they often don't know a thing about anything. I don't say a thing, but they don't know enough about the other industries and some of the hierarchical bottlenecks that happen in these other industries to point out what the bigger picture seems to be shaping up to be. So I'm going to try to be as direct as possible. Do try to ask questions if I'm not making sense, but I'm gonna try to go pretty quick with this. So I'm going to get into this separate chart, but this is more of a timeline linear thing. But right now we're going to start with this one because I want to focus on what the last 4 years has made very clear for everybody. And again, I realize this is inverted. I will show you the corrected one here. Pharma. Today, I just want to focus on pharma and technology. And I think that I think that the compartmentalization of everything it's leading to a bigger frustration that I'm having. I just watched a very compelling conversation on a big semi-famous podcast platform with the host Danny Jones. And he was interviewing, it's a rather colorful interview between Dr. Jack Cruz and a guy named Callie. I forgot his last name, Callie. Maybe you've heard of this interview. It's kind of been making the rounds recently. And the whole time I'm listening to it, I'm going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But neither of these people seem to know, nobody at that table seems to know what's happening. They know a lot about what's happening in this industry and probably even in education and politics. But they don't know about what's happening in tech or history that's creating this frustration, at least within me, because I feel enough people I have not discovered enough people who have clicked the same dots, clicked the same check boxes that I have in putting this together. I'm not the only one. Trust me, I'm not the first one. This is not, Chris is so smart, he's figured it all out. I don't think I have. I'm just saying, come on, y'all. They 50 years ahead on average, okay? Everybody, it took 50 years for everybody to finally admit, the industries to finally admit cigarettes were not healthy for you? For 50 whole years, science, the presidency, all marketing, all the television was, oh yeah, smoking's fine. Nicotine's fine. The carcinogens that Philip Morris infuses into their products are, they pass the safety regulations. Only later you find out, oh no, they was hiding the science and lying the whole time. What I'm trying to present here is that the same thing is happening. We did not go through COVID just to barely wake up to what Fauci et al. Were doing, only to hit some magic auto renaissance where we somehow like out with the old, in with the new, because we're hiring, somebody with the last name Kennedy, somebody with the last name Trump, and somebody with the last name Musk to come and like, hopefully drain enough of the existing system without replacing it to fix the system that's been in place for decades, y'all. So the reason I have pharma and tech highlighted on this particular chart is because these are the two that are swapping. And I don't think that most people really connect how. I know I didn't myself connect how. I could see the destabilization and the controlled demolition. I just couldn't quite piece together exactly what was happening and how and when and what mechanism until within the last year. And that's kind of when I went, I won't say dark, but kind of quiet, and just was like, oh, wow, we're further into this story than I anticipated, y'all. I'm sorry to have to be the bearer of bad news, hopefully in a palatable way, but buckle up. Okay, so I'm born in 1984. I'm 40 years old, okay? And I am just now rounding the corner in the last 5 to 10 years of my life where I understand that the pharmaceutical industry was built on a tremendous amount of hijacked education. We had a collective of worldwide medical practices, herbal medical practices, holistic medical practice, natural medical practices, tribal medical practices, until something happened, and we'll get to that. Wherever that other piece of paper, here it is. We'll get to that here in just a second. But we had all these medical practices that basically went kaput at the beginning of the 1900s. And in replaced Rockefeller medicine. And again, this is all based in pharma and this. So if you consider each one of these things buckets, the premise I'm trying to make here is that all the buckets connect, but compartmentalization, the idea of putting some information in this bucket, some information in this bucket, some information in this bucket, compartmentalization is really creating this giant deficit in anybody getting their bearings on the mile marker where we're at. And it has a lot to do with tech as it relates to biology and medicine, as it relates to education, as it relates to the history we were not told about our relatively recent past. So I'm going to be spending a little bit of time in the whole like history, Tartaria, mud flood conversation very briefly, and a little bit of time in the tech with some tech things, tech information, tech related things, because I'm trying to help close these connections. And I'm purposefully in this video anyway, not going super technical because I don't want to lose you with the tech. So I don't think I'm the only person on earth who's like, okay, something's up. I know something's up. I don't know what it is, but I know something's up. Okay, I know I ain't the only person. I know I ain't the only one who can tell you something's up. The something that is up is this collective out with the old, in with the new system that I really see turning a pretty large leaf embodied in this American presidential change. Now, this isn't like a political post, really, honestly, because the politics of it all don't really matter at the end of the day. It's just one of the buckets, but the politics is what's in the, it's kind of like WWE, Hollywood, and politics are very much like this right now. So the compartmentalization has put very smart people in the medical and like science category. They're getting a lot of solutions, but take COVID, for example. All of what we're finding out with the doink, doink, doinks and the, lipid nanoparticles and all these things in biodistribution studies where they was lying and then they totally was this whole time. we're finding out a lot of things 3-4 years later that that were conspiracy theories early on and now are actual clinically peer-reviewed clinical trial validatable proof. And the tone is shifting in the mainstream. And a lot of people on the science pharma side of the conversation in that bucket, there's a lot of, smart things happening, solutions. But what's happening over here in the technology bucket is affecting that bucket pretty directly. We might as well put weather as its old separate bucket. But the technology bucket is really affecting a whole lot more than I think most people realize. Now, when I first went, I won't say viral, but, basically a tremendous amount of shares happened from one video that I did. This was about, 4 years ago now, right after the Doink Doinks first came out. And the point was, I didn't know what to really tell people to do other than to just look into the fact that these things are not like the other things. Like every one of the things you had growing up in the childhood and hepatitis B and MMR and DTAP and, all that was over here, right? Then you had the mRNA that was all brand new that they all swore, like literally everything they said it wouldn't do, it did. And everything they said it would do, it didn't. 0 for 0 batting average. But we're not talk about that right now. You have this mRNA technology. What I knew at that point was simply, okay, they're into like computer world. These things are like computer printed amino acids, basically 3D printed biology, synthetic biology. I was always under the impression that, the institutions that we see at the, collegiate level, the MITs, the Stanfords, the Berkeleys, things like that, they're at the bleeding edge of what's possible. I have come to be more mature than that now, y'all. I don't think they're at the bleeding edge of what's possible at all. I think that they're at the bleeding edge of what they want the public sector to think is possible, with a tremendous amount of compartmentalized, decentralized research projects going on that lead into a much bigger engine being built by separate players in separate departments and separate divisions. The whole time I'm listening to these doctors, like molecular biologists talk about, plasmids and DNA structures and amino acids and different peptides that they're seeing in the solution that they told you was just a little harmless strip of RNA that was going to encode for maybe just one type of protein that turns out might kill you and or keep replicating for years and years and years as it lodges in your bone marrow. But that was all impossible right up until it wasn't. My take is that you don't have, your average scientist Joe poking around a laboratory 4 years later to accidentally discover this, only to be like, well, I'm sure, the billion-dollar industry companies that did this probably, they probably were just so greedy and negligent they didn't notice it. No, I believe everything that's in those, in that solution, in the doinks, and everything else we've been given is exactly what they want to be there. I'm the person who doesn't let negligence and incompetence be some excuse for some fraudulent genocidal type of activity. Oh, he was fed bad information. No, he wasn't. No, I don't buy that a second. I think that these people lied to you the whole time. And they was wrong about everything they told you they was right about. And everything they told you to do didn't help. And in every context, in every category, in every metric, they were wrong and more people suffered as a result of it. So I'm not, I was born, y'all, but I wasn't born yesterday. And I'm just over the baby conversation of, well, like we should just get another politician to try to do it better. Or we should just expose the one guy who we all just know played a key role in telling you to do something you shouldn't have to actually follow or obey anyway. I don't care about the political theater of bringing justice to one or two individuals. We're way past that, y'all. This was not by accident. This was, I can't even say prophesied, predict. I don't know what a word to use, y'all. It's just they lie about everything. Joe 75 gets it. So the reason I'm saying that is because I want people to understand that what we're seeing play out in the bigger conversation, y'all, is a regime change. It's an overall game changer. That's why on this slide here, what you're seeing is in the middle, money, cash rules everything around me. Dollar, gun cream, get the money, dollar bill. Oh, don't quote me on my hip hop lyrics. Cash rules everything around me. Bitcoin soon. Bitcoin rules everything around me, including this, wireless transaction protocol. Cream, get the money, dollar bill. So what I'm saying here is that money is switching, and I'm using Bitcoin, but just crypto in general. Things that are centralized are becoming decentralized, which they're selling to us as a very good thing. And let me tell y'all, it's a red herring, or I should say a Trojan horse. Maybe is a better example. This is a computer. What I mean by this, and this is what I'm going to talk about in the tech conversation as things flip from this side of the page to this side of the page. This is what the internet runs on. Your computer, through wires and sometimes wireless signal mitigate or polarities and in different telemetric protocols. So that information gets from here to the World Wide Web through a device. All that's changing, y'all. And in fact, from what I've been told, since 2017, it's been under transition to being run from, this is supposed to be your electromagnetic signature around your body. Otherwise referred to as your aura, technically referred to as your biofield. Biological electromagnetic field, shortened to biofield. Rocky's mom, you understand it. So the reason I'm bringing up your biofield and why this is important is because this is the antenna by which systems can connect to your physical physiology for a very long time now, with technology that is, sophisticated on one angle, from one, perspective, but then from a completely technologically different perspective, it's actually pretty basic and rudimentary. So the reason I'm bringing that up is because computers right now are on centralized servers, meaning you cook www.facebook.com. If I clicked on this computer, it's going to go from here wirelessly downstairs to the router through a physical piece of copper to the neighborhood modem depot DNS server, around the corner, around the way to the nearest relay point in the city that I live in, and then to whatever the closest piece of glass, fiber optic cable to the middle of the country that kind of runs, pretty much east to west from California on through and through the Atlantic Ocean. And it will then get sent to its destination, based on what IP or what URL I type in. But that's a centralized approach, a very oversimplified but centralized approach to how internet works. What's about to happen is that we are under the transition of moving that transaction off of copper, off of the wire downstairs and all of that. And I go to send a www and that floats directly from the chip in that machine to several wireless sensor relays embedded in the body using our own biology that synthesize information using our own mitochondria, the electricity in the cells, the powerhouse of our cells, to do functions that are not the function that the cell is designed to do. And they are using biologically derived, created cells, bacterias, yeasts, E. coli, certain enzymes, certain analytes, things which is a component of your cellular makeup, to create, just for simplicity and example's sake, we're going to say to create digital biosignatures that are non-native to your biological terrain. Now that sounds fancy for anybody who might not be into medicine, but all I really mean is some sort of truly biological, enzyme-based, creation-based, bacteria-based thing, cell, something with its own electrical, output that has a frequency that is distinct from what your body would otherwise naturally create. That frequency is then used in a series of recognitions, very similar to how a computer works. Introduction of electricity, that's a 1. The lack of introduction of electricity, that's a 0. Just like on a fiber optic cable or even a coaxial cable or a Cat5 Ethernet cable. The pulse of a piece of electricity within a given span of time is considered a 1. The lack of that pulse is considered a 0. This is what's called binary digital I/O, input, output. That's why you see this little thing right here, I/O, input, output. The reason I'm getting a tiny bit verbose on this part is because I need people to understand that I believe firmly, with enough evidence that I've kind of collected over the years, that we're in tech world. They got us thinking we over here in science world, and we not in science world. Y'all just now learned about the FDA and the CDC. Just now. Y'all just now learned about these corrupt agencies. They've been corrupt this whole time. This whole time they've been corrupt. Y'all just saw, oh, yeah. Go on, stick it in your arm. No, we tested it. Oh, yeah. Say, what you mean? This is brand new technology. This isn't brand new technology. We started the idea for this 30 years ago. But didn't you fail every time and almost kill every single test or animal subject that you use every time? Next question. You see what I'm saying? They did all that already. Billions of people were like, you're a conspiracy theorist. And what happened? They still got whatever they said they were supposed to, weren't supposed to get. And I'm not here to make fun of people who basically got tricked into taking something experimental. I'm just trying to say they haven't been telling the truth. You don't go from being a science-based industry with tight regulatory agencies that check and balance what you do for this whole time, and then as soon as the pandemic comes, you just abandon all that at the most critical hour, right? That just doesn't happen. So what I'm trying to say is that I need for y'all to put y'all adult thinking caps on, and I need for y'all to really understand we at war. And I'm not the type of person who reduces it all to a bioweapon. Oh, they're trying to kill us. Well, yeah, duh, but they've been trying to do that. So what's really going on here? I don't believe they're trying to kill us in a acute, direct sense at all, because I believe that they could already do that without introducing lipid nanoparticles and modified messenger RNA. I think what they're trying to do is mainline the next phase of what they're working on, which is moving the internet here in a decentralized fashion, so that when I type in www, this whatever.com, or when my blockchain NFT transaction just decides it wants to get the encryption 256 SHA encryption code worked out, what happens is I send the message from my machine, and instead of going through a particular protocol we call Wi-Fi at 802.11, the working group ratified by the IEEE, right? Where are we? Pharma, right? CDC, FDA. Y'all ain't never heard about the IEEE, have you? I don't think you have. I mean, you probably have. Maybe you have. But you don't know nothing about it, do you? I didn't think so. What's it stand for? You don't know, do you? The IEEE. You don't even know. What if I told you that the IEEE is more responsible for what you feeling and what you might have felt a few years ago when you couldn't taste nothing and couldn't smell nothing? The IEEE probably had a little bit more to do with the acute actuality of that than the FDA or CDC. Now, they play a part too, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, it's buckets, y'all. It's buckets. What they've been lying to us in the history sector is the existence of our sixth sense. So I'm going to pull the second slide up just briefly, and I'm going to flip it around so y'all can actually read it. Oh, it's upside down. Flip it around so y'all can actually read it, because right here, we'll see. This major reset. You see this? Well, let me flip it so y'all can actually see it. Hold on. We're going to get into it. All right. This major reset of sorts. Now, again, I'll get into the details of this later, but what I want to illustrate to people is that on this pre-decided march from World War I to World War II to World War III, that at some point of time around the early 1800s, something major happened, and the wake of that caused a kind of span of time in the West, at least, for this kind of proliferation of, we'll just call it organic analog living, despite having a lot of technology. And somewhere in this mid to late 1800s, as things with the banking and the legal system of America change and the Rockefeller remix, that's what that says, decided to start re-educating everybody. This is where we're all born. Now I'm 40, okay? And I was born way here. So I don't sit here and go, okay, since I'm 40, right? And I'm born way here. Oh, I went 27, 35 years of my whole life and I just learned about what was going on in this span of time since I've been born. But so now I have my entire grasp on all of this and all of history. No, I don't think that way. Hope you don't either. But the reason I'm bringing this to you now is because I think this might help clarify some of the confusion that you're seeing in the media today. So a lot of people have a tremendous amount of trust for the incumbent president-elect. I am not here to talk politics. If you've ever paid attention to my page in the past, I do not vote. I have not voted in about 18, almost 20 years. Ironically, I've actually been in the milieu of certain presidential candidates and politicians and entertainers and people of that sort. And so I kind of dance around. It's like I see how this industry works, and I just kind of go, I'm gonna back up for a second because I'm pretty sure there's something bigger going on here. And I think that something bigger is a financial change. So that brings me to this change that's about to happen. I know I've been hopping all around, but the reason I'm hopping all around is because I'm trying to show y'all how so much of what the Trump, Kennedy, Musk conversation is about exposing this industry. Can I tell y'all, the way that COVID was handled already exposed the pharmaceutical industry. Everybody, minus the completely asleep and completely glued to the blue option on the television, everybody knows that the pharmaceutical industry was way out of pocket with COVID. Half of y'all realize that they've been out of pocket since before COVID. But from the industry that I do work in, which is the media industry, I can assure you they do almost nothing without reason. They do almost nothing without modeling, focus grouping, and planning. So when we see this suppression of information relating to the pharmaceutical deception, and then kind of this abundance of information related to the pharmaceutical deception just a few years later, and we see this sparse pandemic preparedness playbook where they're basically saying that they're going to deny, and then 3 or 4 years later, they're going to accept, and, oh, thank you for your sacrifice to science. Thank you for rolling up your sleeve and being a part of our global experimental group in this clinical trial we did on the world, since the one we did in the lab, we totally faked and lied just to get FDA approval. Oh, but we changed the formula out before we sent it to the FDA because we did. And yes, a court has ruled that they actually did that. And you can call that whatever you want. I call it fraud and deception. So the reason this is important is because things are moving faster, and people are just now starting to wake up to the old trick, y'all. And the new trick is already it's already full steam, y'all. The new trick rides in on a horse called righteousness. And the legs and the horsepower of that righteousness, right? Air quotes, is all based off of the expose of the nefarious activities of the old trick. Okay, now the old trick we refer to commonly as the cabal, the deep state, the Federal Reserve, and its ilk. But if you really look and you centralize this into a money conversation, please recognize that this is just the American dollar symbol. Okay, this is not the euro. This is not, loosely it is, but this is not the yuan. This is not the renminbi. This is not the ruble. This is one country's currency, right? And that country's currency is actually backed and housed within a system that is still British managed, still managed by a centralized bank that comes from the across the pond, as we call it here in America. And today's episode is not about getting into that detail. It's just about saying we're transitioning y'all into this. And this right here ain't owned by the same bank that's this. So if we're oversimplifying, and again, oversimplifying here, this is the old system. This is the new system. This is the old system. This is the new system. This is the old system, and you are the new system. So when you feeling bad, don't let this industry keep lying to you like they've been this whole time, covering for this industry, the tech industry, forgive the fact that it's backwards, by calling it long COVID or, some sort of chronic fibromyalgia. They are running the internet through your body, according to the American Department of Defense. Okay, so you don't have to take my word for it. What you talking about, Chris? What you talking about? They can't do that. Yes, they can. Yes, they already do. Yes, the DOD said anybody who wants to step up to the plate and get some AI precision healthcare, y'all have been doing that since 2017. We talking, 7 years now? Almost 8 years now. Okay, so focusing on these two, because I need people, if your specialty is in any one of these buckets or the derivative industries of these buckets, I don't consider you an idiot. I simply think that if you're confused about what's going on, it's because these two buckets have been doing a whole lot behind the scenes and they haven't been telling you. So I'm going to show, so let me back up. At some point, when this major reset happens, sometime in the early 1800s, and much of our history and the official national park system, Smithsonian system, all that's about kind of obfuscating what's really going on here, taking everything that happened here and saying, oh, this is from 10,000 BC. It's from 200 years ago, 150 years ago. Oh, it's from 70 squillion BC. They just be saying stuff, y'all. The more commas and zeros on it, the closer it probably is. They honestly are freaked out about anybody learning the context of, where is it? History? This particular trick? Because this trick unlocks the understanding of how this trick is working and why this trick is some bullshit because politics don't matter. And why this trick is all about going, hooga shaka, hooga shaka, hooga shaka, don't look, don't look, don't look. Don't you want to see a chunky booty? Wouldn't you rather see somebody twerking than actually get to work and start figuring out how to make your biofield start working for you? That's what the entertainment industry is about. The educational industry is all about telling you that you're the smartest that you could ever be. I mean, we live in the most advanced, technologically advanced time on earth. Lie. But we think we do. We have so much pride around the fact that we have hit the bleeding edge. I mean, we went to the moon 50 years ago. Something like that. I mean, the ego that comes with the belief that we are at the bleeding edge of technology is what blinds us to the fact that they already doing this. And they've been doing it for 20 years live. Don't take my word for it. You can take the word of the Department of Defense, or how about the International Standards Organization, or the Signals. I forgot the actual acronym for the Worldwide Wireless Group, or the IEEE, or any one of these derivative agencies that really regulate this aspect of it. So if you ask me, and I said this back 2021. If they operate on this premise of problem, reaction, solution, right? And the solution at the time was doink, 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 tech-based mRNA. That's like amino acids, peptides, new proteins, print, and inject. If that was such a computer-centric, tech-centric, computer-centric, tech-centric deception or solution, then my brain started asking the question, well, I wonder if the problem in reaction is tech-based too, right? Reaction was obviously tech-based. You're not allowed to say nothing, censorship, fact check. the entire technological police came to roost for 2.5 years, around 2021, 2022. So this far removed from the incident, we should all be mature enough to, no matter what you decide, whether you fell for a trick on level 1 or you didn't, we should all be mature enough to go, okay, what are they up to? Because I know they're not trying to cure diseases. That's not a great business model for a company that makes more money managing diseases and making you sicker so you need them more. That's not the business model for that company to cure anything. So that first video I did on a doink doink that went pretty viral got censored, got pretty heavily fact checked. But what went even more viral than that video and got even more fact checked was the very next video that I posted called 3 Big Fat Lies. And that 3 Big Fat Lies, which I do believe you can see if you scroll all the way down close to the bottom of this channel, in that video, that's where I was explaining. I didn't have as much information as I have now, but at the time I knew, you guys, I don't know, man. It's like we're in a tech world. Look around you. Everything's electronic. Everything. If y'all could really see how much 3G, 4G, 5G, GPS, GLONASS, microsatellites, Starlink, all these different technologies are flying through the air, y'all would understand, oh, wait, this may have something to do with why we fit. Everybody was talking about some bat and a pangolin in a wet market in China or some lab in China with the Diamond Princess cruise. We passed that, y'all. We passed that. They will happily let y'all argue about that because arguing about that keeps your arguments off of what's really going on. And what's really going on is the Internet of Bodies, the Internet of Things, the Internet of Space Things. Marriott B said, English, please. Okay, so I'm going to try to translate what I was just saying into English. At some point in the mid 1800s, in the early 1800s, and who knows how long in this window prior, existed a civilization that had pretty sophisticated technology, and from what we can tell, a pretty decent understanding of their own human anatomy and their senses. Basic health class stuff here, y'all. Remember, we have 5 senses: taste, touch, smell, sight, and sound, right? Your 5 senses. Now, never mind why there's a movie called The Sixth Sense, right? There's this extra sense. We have to call it the 6th sense because we can't just ignore it. And from certain NIH-based definitions of this concept of this 6th sense, as it happens to have a ratified, officially published legal name, this makes up a large chunk of our immune system. I mean, think about this 30-foot electromagnetic kind of donut almost around me. 30 foot or so donut around me that senses things in my space and in the places around me. Otherwise, perhaps referred to as my intuition, my gut feeling, my spidey senses, the Holy Spirit, my ancestors. Pick a scapegoat, pick a title. You can call it anything, just don't call it a biofield. Why? Because your biofield just happens to be clinically defined and measured to have a specific resonant frequency, a unique specific resonant frequency that both the FCC and the IEEE have codified. Okay, now again, I'm going to back it up and simplify it. So what I mean is, in this period of time since this crisis happened in sometime basically 150 or so years ago, the educational model we've gotten since this Rockefeller reset has not told us anything about our 6th sense. They call it your biofield. They call it something. You're just not allowed to call it anything. I mean, your 5th sense, right? Sound, right? It's called your ear. See how that works? It's got a title. Your eyeball, your 4th sense, that's called sight, right? That's got a title for the organ that controls that 4th sense. The 3rd sense, your taste, it's got your tongue and your taste buds, right? Your nose, your olfactory receptors, the ones that when they hit that button, it smell like nothing. Yeah, well, they have an electrical signature too, and that sense is relating to an organ. And of course, your nerve endings are physical. What they just don't tell you is you have this sixth sense. I mean, they kind of do, but they don't. But that sense has an organ, and that organ's called your biofield, and that biofield is fully hijacked at this point. And, kind of like the Matrix, but a little bit more wireless, has jacked you into the Internet of Bodies. And the entire approach, since hiding this from you and all the etheric energy of the world that we live in, lying about history, lying about who really runs this, lying, pacifying you with entertainment, miseducating you in all the most institutions that you had to, get a 5.0 or 6.0 AP classes, honors, international baccalaureate, advanced placement classes just to get high enough GPA to qualify. Only to just be told a big fat $36,000 a semester lie. Congratulations, you got duped. But you're not the only industry, right? You were duped in this industry because they was just selling you some marketing, not some actual really, true solutions here. This industry was like, oh yeah, get the food pyramid. It'll be great. It'll kill you and make us money, but it'll be great or something like that. Never mind, all these ingredients that are illegal in this country are what we put in our baby food in this country. And we have your best interests at heart. Okay, that's actually what's going on in this industry. This industry was the OG hustle. We're not going to talk about that one tonight. But history, I'm bringing a little bit of the deception within the historical bucket, because unlocking that, for me anyway, has made it like, oh, this is why we're so much further than I thought we were, because even the best scientists still are lied to about the history of this world. They're still lied to about the general electromagnetic nature of what's going on. So if you're over here noticing, certain binding structures to certain, microscopic organisms that are doing whatever under your conventional analysis tools, but you have no clue what's happening in the tech world, where they got antennas and satellites and all kinds of signal emitters that can manipulate certain unique E. coli or bacteria or yeast that's fully biointegratable. That means compatible with your body, but also fully electromagnetically manipulatable. That means I can hit a button and it'll change something inside of you. That's actually going on. And up to now, and not even really up to now, still now, most people aren't really allowed to talk about it. I happen to be an engineering major. I went to an engineering school. I was very much interested in computer science and how computers work. And I began to step back once I realized computers in the general computing world is being used to enslave humans in a new way. Now, we're not going to talk about AI tonight because that's too vast of a conversation. Yes, I'll put the timeline drawing up because we're going to go back to that, Tamara. Give me 1 second. I'll put it up just so you can see it. But I will be talking about the timeline here a little more. But in fact, I'll go ahead and do it now. So let me flip this real quick. I don't profess to know exactly what was happening here. That's why I put a big question mark. I'm still learning, working backwards, right? Here goes me born. I'm just learning what they doing in 1984. It was on some BS in 84, okay? So in 1884, I'm just now getting back to it. And I'm approaching this inverted world we live in. Like everything that they've told us has been in reverse. We ain't got time to get into it tonight in history, but would it surprise you if I told you that the slave trade story was told in reverse? Where the aboriginals that existed in this window of time between this reset and when the Rockefeller money from England came over to take hold of what was still going on after the reset, this general time here, a lot changed. And we have been led to believe that 1776, Columbus, 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and 1776. I think 1776 was really just about New England, the 13 colonies, and the entire rest of the country was unclaimed for this general time. And they want us to think it was just all homogenous from the beginning, but it really wasn't anything like we know it today until like World War II. This is World War I, World War II, and World War III, until like here. So this is when the deep state, if you see here, deep state, let me flip it so I can actually read this. This is when we'll work backwards because that makes the most sense for me. And, 2000 and beyond, obviously we're past that. But what we call our shadow government, they didn't really get the tentacles in fully until about this time. Now, there was definitely Masonic leadership and Jesuit BS going on, but it wasn't at the fever pitch it's at now until then. 1933 is when the birth certificate and the whole citizenship thing started to pop off. And that was kind of on the heels of the Great Depression. I say Rockefeller remix because this is when the educational system, the textbooks, the American Medical Association, all the colleges, and everything started to change to re-educate everybody about away from this, away from this, away from this, away from this, away from all this and all this and all this. And they want us to think that all this was right here this is what they call medieval and tell us this old world. This is what was really native and aboriginal around the world, right? It's not just American natives, but we're talking Swedish natives, South African natives, Australian aboriginals, the whole gamut lived freely with advanced technology. Now, when I say advanced technology, I'm not implying spaceships and lasers. I'm implying human ingenuity that was unfettered by oligarchical structures so that humans could harness beyond enough energy for themselves, their family, and their home and their community, and use that to live their life in a gainful and pursuit of happiness style way. And then at some point, and again, I put the West up here because I need people to understand I don't have the time to go into everybody's history. I'm barely holding on to my own. But at some point in time, this major reset happens around 1810, some people say, somewhere in the early 1800s. And what happens here, this whole window of time between 1850 and 1950 is a complete changing of the whole conversation. This is where they hid the sixth sense, and they just erased it over time because the entire time they were developing centralized decentralization. Your biofield, I believe all of our ancient ancestors knew all about that type of stuff. They simply didn't, it wasn't industrialized or weaponized. You see what I mean? So it was kind of, it's just yours to do what you want to with it. Just like your ear and your eye. They've essentially, how many people need glasses or contacts? Walk around, go to the mall, go to the Walmart, go to Kmart somewhere, Costco. Look and see how many people got glasses. Assume all the people who don't have glasses, guess how many got contacts or had LASIK within that demographic? Like 95% of people in the store. Okay? Most people. Not everybody. Some people have great vision without any glasses or contacts, but most people. So the reason I'm saying all this is because the stuff Elon Musk is talking about now is the same stuff that was going on then. It's only been Rockefellerized, centralized, subjugated, compressed, compact, presented in this pretty bland graphic design shell with no colors at all, just all black. And it's being drip fed back out to us over time under the auspices of advancement and technological breakthroughs. Y'all all see it. Y'all go to the TSA. There's a bunch of incompetent fools. Y'all go to the doggone any baseball, basketball, sports game. The security. I had to go somewhere today to pick something up and go through security. The security, like, sir, you had to put your key, walk through the beep beep beep. Okay, I need to get you need to see my ID. No, baby, you fine. Here you go. Really? You put me through all that just for me to not maybe even be me and just steal what it was I was coming. Long story short, I believe the conditioning we're under now, things with like TSA are a good example, are so incompetently frustrating that when automated options are presented, AI TSA, auto TSA is presented as an option, everybody, including maybe even me, is like, yes, please, I'll take it. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm about to sit through that TSA line one more time and have to, sir, what's in your bag? Let's swab your bag. Oh, because I'm going to come through the airport with a bomb. Okay, like, what do y'all even, like, getting back to the point. And I'm going to try to keep it, like, daily. I will say this. I'm going to try to keep this limited. The Belle Maria says, we have no idea what they're cooking. What's to come with Elon and others must be crazy. So yes, it must be crazy, but I do have an idea of what they're cooking. They have lied to us. Things like space, right? If you haven't looked into what went on TV in 1969, it was some bullshit. Okay, it was a lot. We're not gonna get into it. It was a lot. But I believe they only lie because they know that they don't have to lie forever. The lie is a short shelf life type of lie. And the short shelf life type of lie was only supposed to bridge the gap between outer space and inner space. Mind space, World Wide Web space, digi-space, cyberspace, that's real. Computer viruses, that's real. You can isolate a computer virus for sure. You don't need no fetal bovine serum to do it. Computer viruses are real. We're not going to get into the one biological microorganism that you can't actually see unless you have specialized equipment to see. Bacteria, ain't nobody arguing that bacteria is real. Fungi, ain't nobody arguing that fungi is real. Spores, mold, mushrooms, stuff like that. Nobody's arguing these things. Microorganisms of all types. It's just this other one category that seems to get a whole lot of attention in the media. And apparently there's no cure for it. If you ask me, this entire conversation regarding viruses from its inception has been a massive campaign at a red herring in obfuscating what's really happening. Because what's really happening is they're engineering synthetic biology to interface with their wireless communication systems. It's been underway for 100+ years. It was part of the reason they stopped telling you about the sixth sense in the first place. They were going to be using that sixth sense, or I should say the body part related to that sixth sense, for what they were trying to do next. Synthetic telepathy, synthetic precognition, synthetic premonitions, these are all innate aspects of the human mind and spiritual aspects of the ability we have to reach into the outer dimension and pull something into this one. I mean, art is a good example of that. An artist can just think about something, use his hand, a piece of charcoal and wrapped in wood, and something comes into this dimension that expresses emotion or evokes emotion from other living beings. That's beautiful. That's what I do for work, to a degree. That's art, but that is a form of taking something etheric or an idea, a concept, immaterial, and making it material. What I'm trying to tell y'all is that they're doing the same thing in the technology world. And it's affecting people's health and well-being. And it's causing body issues. And doctors are just too busy looking at microscopes about what a peer-reviewed study or a piece of analysis out of a laboratory suggests, and they're not actually paying attention to what's happening in the technology and the telecommunications world. Because all that stuff, when combined with certain physics, certain thermodynamic physics, is affecting your cellular ability. So again, somebody asked me to explain it in English. I realize Tammy Mollahan said, is it time to get rid of my Starlink? Don't bother. It's all here to stay. Starlink work where the rest of them don't. So it's not about any one product. This is a bigger thing here. And the reason you see this going here is because everybody's about to be on Starlink. Everybody. This is going away. This is going away. This is going away. This is going away. Everything's going here. It's all going. These systems, all these industries are going to be transformed, but in this new model. So I will talk the Belle Maria about my thoughts about next year, but I honestly don't have a tremendously optimistic prognosis. I don't. I think that for individuals, I think people will hit these new plateaus and thresholds of learning, of growth for people, for families. But as a collective, I don't see it being this awakening of sorts. I think people mostly was tricked just a few years ago. And the ones who was tricked have just now begun to piece some of the tricks together of that old trick. And the only reason they can piece those tricks together from that old trick is because the new trick has served them up for you on a silver platter, because you wouldn't even know where to look if they paid you $1 million to search for something without using Google. You wouldn't even know what to do next. So this new trick is serving up the old trick because they're done with it. They want you to see how bad pharma is. That's why, let me back up. They want you to see how bad the pharmaceutical industries have acted so that you ideologically decouple your trust in those institutions and you place that trust in these new methodologies. I don't want y'all to think that COVID or the doink, doink, doink was this internet of bodies. The Internet of Bodies launched in 1995. Oh, my thoughts on 2025. Okay. The Internet of Bodies launched in 1995. In 2005, the Internet of Bodies went public, meaning if you knew the right institution to contact and you had enough money, apparently it was only 30 grand at the time, you could totally get a remote control and Stepford wife your actual literal wife. Actually, I didn't do it, but in 2005, right, when I was a doggone junior in college, you could Stepford wife, and I'm using that as a movie reference because I need y'all to understand these buttons ain't new, and the way this technology worked was affecting people, pretty directly. Now, I don't have time to get into the minutia of the tech, right? Because today's conversation is really about giving you an overview. I can springboard people to start looking at certain channels and people who talk about this much more in detail and in depth than I do. But the long and short of it is, because I realize I look at some of these channels who are speaking really, really, really detailed information on this tech side of things, and I'm like, wow, people need to know this. But I'm a freaking nerd who majored in telecommunications and computer science, and I'm barely hanging on. I'm catching some of what you're talking about, but the other half, I got to go write these words down and look them up. So I know that if I'm barely hanging on, everybody else is just falling off the mechanical bull, pun intended. So what I think is quite compelling is that everything I see that's happening in the world today is about justifying this new system and throwing the old system out. The new system has no need for nations and national borders. It has no need for presidents and prime ministers. It's all about AI, precision managed healthcare. 1995, your butt is jacked into the cloud. 2005, it's open for sale. 2012, it's global. 2017, it's not only global, but now the Department of Defense is actually selling services. Selling services, you say? Oh, yeah. Give me an example, Chris. I'll give you an example. And I'm going to oversimplify because I'm keeping this campy and a bit like this to hopefully avoid being censored and also to help the people who ain't the nerds really understand what's going on. The Department of Defense said, we are open for business. We are presenting what we're calling AI precision healthcare on the medical implant communication system as part of the wide body area network. These are conspiracy theory terms, or these are terms ratified and codified by the NIH, IEEE, CDC, FDA, FAA, FCC, and all the rest of the ABC 1, 2, 3. And we are offering our customers, right? The military defense of arguably the most funded defense contracting company has private customers that they are selling cellular states, meaning give me a person, I will tell you the readout of every cell in their body with 100% maximum to 40% minimum accuracy. Meaning they were confident. It's not my words, y'all. They said they was confident in 2017 to give at least 40% accuracy on every cell in your body anywhere in the world. Now, they don't do this on everyone all at the same time in real time. It's very much like nodes here and rolling cycles and server groups. But the whole point is to set the system up so that cumulatively as it grows, we get into this broadband internet of based. Please see. I'm going to hit you up, Joe. Don't worry. there's this broadband IO based internet of things. I have my notifications like on mute, and I don't have my second phone here, so I don't see any text. I don't know what it says. Just hit me in the comments. But we are at a place where I feel people who aren't computer nerds are kind of like lost in the sauce, because half the computer nerds are lost in the sauce about how to mitigate and understand what's actually really happening here right now in this world today. And now that the new systems are live, the whole MO is a controlled demolition. Now, if control freaks like to control things, and controlled demolitions is what they do, then controlling people is, and controlling the narrative and the conversation is what they are experts in. And you guys, I'm telling y'all, that's what they're doing. So when it comes to RFK and Trump, and, I hate like soloing people out because it just happens to be that RFK, got cast in the part in this season of the game, or got the jersey and the coach told him suit up and get in the game. Trump this round of the game. It could have been Kamala and Biden et al. But what I see with this introduction of this wild card, Mr. Musk, is that we are now, systems are ready to go. And this is something I don't want people to fear, because I think that the fear is part of what got us into this pickle in the first place. And I'm hoping to demystify a little of what's kind of maybe a little confusing and maybe a little scary, a little bit, because I don't want y'all to be afraid. I'm not honestly afraid. I do carry some fear, but it's mostly fear for people getting sold lies and half solutions because they don't really know what they're fighting. See what I'm saying? It's like if we're boxing, right? And I'm like this, right? And you're like, I have a headband, a bandana over my eyes. I can't see. It's really hard to defend yourself against what you can't see. It's really hard to fight back against what you can't see. And the entire concept of biofield hijacking is affecting you in a way you can't see and running the world off of what you can't see. So 2017, they said they was open for AI precision healthcare. What's that mean? That means, oh yes, I'm an insurance company and I got these many clients on here's the client's names, here's their signature locations. Oh great, we've located their biosignature and boom, you now have a 100% or maybe 40% accurate readout on this person's cellular state, so you can decide whether you want to allow them to be, for coverage, since they were eating McDonald's every day for the last 6 months, and you did have a little rider in their insurance policy that says you have to eat healthy food because we're here for you. So now you can't have your insurance money because we noticed that you ate too many McDonald's fries within the last quota section, right? These are all theoretical future possibilities of negative expressions of AI managed healthcare, whereas the exact opposite of that could be used in a good way. So I've learned to not fear technology. Technology is a tool. But if that tool is in the hands of a maniac, I'm kind of afraid of the tool, right? I don't fear chainsaws, but doggone Jason Voorhees come through here with a chainsaw, I ain't sticking around. So the reason I briefly brought up that historical timeline is because they say they want 3 world wars. I didn't write this 3 world wars letter. I'm not Giuseppe Benzini or Albert Pike. I'm not a Grandmaster Freemason, nor am I part of the Jesuit order. Okay, so I didn't have nothing to do with this. What they apparently wrote in 1871 was the 3 world war mechanism strategy that they had to essentially put a lock on what they were trying to control. And basically 130 or so years later, they did it. 150 something years later, they, I think, were pretty successful at doing it. And now that they have succeeded at that, they are dismantling what exists. So yes, let's clap for the pharmaceutical industry's corruption getting exposed. But let's not just spend all day clapping about that, because if you was paying attention, you probably would have noticed this a decade or more ago, and they're on to the next trick. And that next trick is trickier because it's using anatomies and body parts that people aren't even told they have. So the whole carbon footprint, the whole, like, that's really the grease. That's the big Trojan horse lie. This idea that we're out of resources and there isn't enough resources to go around. So you totally, there's not enough. So you have to actually give up something that you want to because the earth is dying and it's all your fault. That's a lie. The earth is hella regenerative. Our bodies are hella regenerative. Plants are hella regenerative. Everything organic basically is regenerative. Basically, if you get out of the way, you provide it with enough enzymes and enough nutrients, it's going to do what it's going to do. There is a systemic poisoning happening that they're pointing to and calling it our fault when it's not. But even despite that, the earth is not actually out of resources by any stretch of the imagination. So once you can get past that propaganda and you can get past the fact that we're not on this linear trajectory of advanced technology where we go through these cycles of like great technology and then a crash and then some subjugated form of that technology in a slightly controlled way and then a crash and then some even more subjugated form of that same series of technologies in an even less cool way, that's the cycles we're in. Even from a biblical standpoint, the whole dream of Daniel with the king with the head of the statue at the head of gold and the torso, a chest of silver and torso of bronze. That whole dream was interpreted as all these kingdoms will happen one after the other, and each kingdom would be lesser than the kingdom before it, not greater. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not even basing this squarely off of that biblical premise. I'm saying even the Bible is telling y'all the same thing. Okay? So there's a couple of images that I've brought up. And I want to show, I've saved a few images because I want to reference them for what I'm presenting. Oh, you know what I could do? I could have done this. That's even better. Can y'all see that? Maybe. It's kind of like, it's a bit too full. You can't zoom it out. Anyway, we're focusing on the middle anyway. Everybody knows, everybody's been paying attention to cryptocurrencies and blockchain is familiar with the concept of decentralization. Money right now is very centralized. You basically have to use an institution or a credit union that is a fiduciary of the Treasury, and the Treasury and the Federal Reserve are fiduciaries of the central banks. At the end of the day, that's a fiduciary of the UN, that's a fiduciary of the Crown, that may be a fiduciary of, I don't know, some intergalactic, planetary, Beastie Boys idea. But the decentralization is being sold to us as this heroic turn of a renaissance. And I'm telling y'all, in some ways it is, but in more ways, it's not. Okay, Bryce is mentioning XRP. Yes. Now, again, I have this Bitcoin symbol because I'm just trying to illustrate crypto. XRP, Dogecoin, Crazy Coin, Tua Coin, all these crazy coins, who knows? I'm not here to specifically zero in on a specific cryptocurrency. What I'm trying to tell y'all is that we are moving into this system, and so everything you're seeing, everything in politics, everything in the news, everything about these UFOs and these drones over Jersey, these orbs, everything about this crazy fog, everything about these crazy hurricanes and these crazy snowstorms that's about to come around, is all relating to the same controlled demolition. I'm just trying to tell y'all. So money is going, but this what's really happening in the background is a financial change. I'm oversimplifying it when I say it's moving from Western control and hegemony to Eastern control and hegemony. Western control and hegemony to Eastern control and hegemony. The West is the cabal, the Fed, the banks that relate to the Fed. The Eastern control is this Chinese BRICS nation coalition situation that has a pretty heavy footprint on the technology side, since they create every microchip that goes in everything that everyone on the world uses as far as their technology interface, okay? I'm talking about China, in case y'all was confused. That trend is headed in this direction, away from the Fed, away from the West, away from the Vatican, away from that, toward the new players. Who are the new players? Well, maybe we got Russia, China, maybe Jerusalem's hanging around. We got some India's coming up to the plate, they leveling up. This is not a racist thing. This is just saying this is what it is. I'm American. I love my Americans, but the American government is not a righteous institution. It's a giant criminal syndicate, right? But that's every country's governments right now. So I'm showing y'all this because this computer to body transition, that's the decentralization that's hitting your blood vessels that doesn't feel so well. And the conversation of the decentralized nature of the internet is really what I think is the underlying underpinnings of this next move. So right now, like I explained earlier, if I type something, if I go to a website, it's got to go from that computer through a wire or wirelessly to my modem, through the modem to a piece of glass in the neighborhood, or to a coaxial cable in the neighborhood made of copper, then through a wire to a piece of glass somewhere else in the city that shoots it really fast at the speed of light, called fiber optic telecommunications. It's even faster if we're dealing electromagnetic to electromagnetic, body to body, processing to processing, with your cells and your mitochondria doing all the I/O. How is this possible? I could get into it, but it would probably lose you because it's basically almost lost me. I'm just now wrapping my head around it after diving in eyeballs deep for over a year now. I'm coming to you because I'm going, okay, people gotta understand this. I just don't know how to present this in a way that's going to be palatable. So what I'm trying to do is give it to you in chunks and then say, we won't talk more about it, but I got to unpack it over time. So another asset that I wanted to show is this right here. All right, this is, let's see if I can do it. What is the IEEE? Well, go to your iPhone. I don't have the box for my phone, but if you've purchased a new phone or a new piece of electronics lately, go to the box, flip the box over, and you'll see IEEE number ... So what the IEEE is responsible for doing is setting and regulating standards for electronic and electromagnetic signals. They're like the electronic version of the FDA or CDC. So the CDC is to diseases and drugs, or the FDA really is to diseases and drugs. Like the FCC is to communications and communication protocols. Like the EPA is to environmental toxins. Like the IEEE is to physical devices. Like if I just take like this external hard drive, when you look at the box, wherever the box for this hard drive is, it's going to have an IEEE number. That's what the IEEE is responsible for doing. So I'm showing y'all here what the IEEE has already done. I don't even know when this was ratified. But this is your WBAN, your wireless body area network. You see how it's got its own Wikipedia entry? It's a whole thing. Born to Trump says, should we not be updating our phones when the updates come out? Ask me why I'm 2 iOS updates behind at every time. It's kind of like, I mean, I'd be dragging my feet on the updates because they just be introducing more invasive code each time. But it's like, we're all sliding down the same slope. So it's like, update if you need to. But, you know, it's mostly just makes your phone slower. The WBAN supports a variety of real-time health monitoring and consumer electronics applications, and also the entire Internet of Bodies. The latest international standard for the WBAN is IEEE 802.15.6. Now, y'all who my nerds, y'all know Wi-Fi is 802.11? 802.11a, 802.11b, 802.11n, then there's 802.11 AC, and now there's 802.11ax. There's all these extensions on the spec to introduce new protocols for getting data in and out faster. Y'all remember the internet in 95? Welcome, you've got mail. Would you like to go to a chat room? Download this JPEG. Doink, 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 doink. It's the same internet we have today, only everything goes much faster because broadband, right? So the iOB is on the doink, 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 dial-up speeds, and doink, doink, doinking was all about going from dial-up to broadband. We won't get into the mechanism of how, but that's just a bit too complicated for this. But The latest international standard for the wide-body area network is the IEEE 802.15.6 standard, which aims to provide an international standard for low-power, short-range, and extremely reliable wireless communication within the surrounding area of the human body, supporting a vast range of rates for different applications. Short-range wireless communications in the vicinity of or inside the human body, but not limited to humans. Make sure you get your dogs chipped in case they get lost and or we need to run the internet to them too, are specified in this standard. It uses existing industrial scientific methods as well as frequency bands approved by the national medical and or regulatory authorities. I can't even see the bottom part. Support for quality of service, extreme low power and data rates up to 10 megabits per second. That's what, 1.2 megabytes per second. That means, you know, if your MP3 is like 3 megabytes, it's already as of today got enough input-output bandwidth to hit play, start hearing a song loaded wirelessly from who knows where, the Spotify servers or the Apple Music servers, and it'll happen in 2 or 3 seconds with no additional bootstrapping required, right? That means it doesn't need your phone to actually access the internet. Bootstrapping is simply, you know, a intermediate option. I pulled this up just, you know, for people to understand. That's on Wikipedia. Now, I don't only go to Wikipedia, but I'm starting there, 1.2 gigawatts. What's up, Grant? I'm starting there for y'all to see, oh, okay, there's like a thing. I can go to I can type in WBAN, IEEE, space, WBAN, enter. Oh, Wikipedia comes up, click. Oh, there's tons of blue links. I can click around and see what's going on. That's the thread in the sweater to pull, y'all, because that wide body area network is made up of 2 radio frequency relay points and what they refer to as a terahertz-based intrabody nano network. Okay, megahertz, gigahertz, terahertz. Megahertz go real, in fact, hertz, megahertz, gigahertz, terahertz, H-E-R-T-Z, right? Hertz. Hertz can go from here clear across to the other side of the country. Megahertz can go from here clear across to the other side of the city. Gigahertz can go from here clear across to the other side of the street, maybe, or the other side of the room, if it's like, basically. We're talking like a few hundred yards. Terahertz can go from here to here, about a couple centimeters. Very weak, very low power, but able to talk and have nodes and biological analyte derivatives give a crude at first, but growing and evolving synthesis of what a 1 or a 0 is as it relates to an inputted signal or a inputted instruction set that it needs to output a result from. So all of that is just me saying they running computers and the internet on your body. And if you don't understand how computers work, I'm giving you a basic super duper crash, you know, puppet show course in just the basics of how telemetry works. Telemetry is just a fancy word for input and output of information, getting information like a telephone from one device or location to another. So yes, Andrew Bernat said, look up studies of moving mice with frequency. All of this is a thing. They want you to think it's just at the mice because it's been at the mice since 189 years ago. And now they got that button. Oh, they got that button. If you ask me, Elon is on that button. Kamala was on that button. Donald is on that button. Everybody's on the button. Okay, doggone Ariana Grande's on the button. Beyonce's on the button. Diddy was probably on the button half them times. If he wasn't on the button, he was on the butt. Okay, buttons be getting pressed. I'm saying that to say we're further into this, y'all, than most people realize, because they have been hiding the fact that there is you have a body part that they're just not telling you about, and that body part is being used against your knowledge and against your will. And that use is creating medical issues that the medical industry has no clue what they're fighting. They're slanging, they're doing D-dimer blood panels, and they're doing dark field microscopy and all this stuff. and they don't know what they're swinging at because they're not physics experts. They're not technology experts. They have no clue what the IEEE is doing. They don't know how they were lied to with our history and what was removed from what we technically have the innate ability to do. They think that politicians are representing what politicians represent when they're not. I could keep going. They've all been miseducated. The smart ones figured out that they were miseducated and started to re-educate themselves on what the truth is, or at least a closer aspect of the truth. So this Internet of Bodies is a thing. It's already a thing, y'all. It's already a thing. So, oh, well, how can you tell me COVID's not real? I went downstairs and I walked in and I never get sick, and I walked to my grandma and she was sniffling and I was sniffling too. Oh, maybe she sent some maybe. Just maybe. Maybe you got asked to serve up some Amazon Web Services that day. Maybe somebody was downloading OnlyFans and you just happened to be in the apartment next door. So they routed the information through your shoulder. Or through your butt cheek, but it wasn't of your butt cheek. It was just your butt cheek was doing the data processing so that on the screen someone else's butt cheek could jiggle in just the right type of way. What I'm saying here, French, somebody said they would like to hear my perspective on DNA. I think this is, I'm really glad you asked that question, because the whole time I'm listening to this podcast that I mentioned at the beginning of the previous episode, I'm going, when I hear DNA, the A in DNA stand for acid, right? Y'all remember deoxyribonucleic acid? That's what it stands for, right? The A stands for acid. So DNA, anything that's acidic is I don't even want to get into the super nerd aspect of it. Things that are acidic can facilitate things that are alkaline or acidic can facilitate electricity. Have y'all all seen the experiment where you get a lemon and you get the wire and the battery and get the copper and you can power a light bulb with a lemon? Y'all seen that childhood experiment? DNA is at its core the element of what we're told is the strata of what creates us. Now, there's been this giant debate in the scientific community. Particle or wave? Particle or wave? Is it a particle at the most minute of what we know what's going on? Is it a particle or is it a wave? A particle or wave? Well, the consensus has kind of gone with particle. Virus, particle, bacteria, particle. Nikola Tesla, somebody mentioned, and everybody who's figured it out at this point, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of sound, frequencies, and vibrations. Everything not only is a wave, it's manipulatable by a wave. If you ask me, this is why they wanted everybody in particle camp in the first place, so you wouldn't perceive everything as a wave like it is. A wave state, right? Two atoms dancing in some sort of electromagnetic dance like this at the nucleus with a benzene ring and an extra, ionic charge and a covalent bond and all this nerd stuff that we all like to forget about. These two things dancing in harmony, if they're a wave, can be interrupted by an external wave going boo, and then all of a sudden, boop, they get adjusted or changed to a different frequency or a different trajectory. All this is possible wirelessly, remotely, to or from any location in the world, without any boink, without any watch or amulet or ring or necklace or, chip insert, none of that. Straight to your body part that totally doesn't exist because you're not allowed to know it, because to do that would expose the one thing that actually makes their tricks work. It's to show you the thing that you've been trying to swing at this whole time. So when I hear DNA, and again, I don't want to get into what I think of DNA, just suffice it to say it's acid that has electrical properties that can be manipulated. And the manipulation and perturbation and atmospheric thermodynamic pressure changes that are possible with nanoparticulates and metamaterials and, electromagnetic sounds and, frequencies, just energy pulse in unique ways, phased and collated over scalar technologies, which all of that just means multiple different systems working in conjunction with one another to do what they're trying to do. You can affect a wave at its most basic state. You can affect the coronal charge around a cell peptide or nucleotide or amino acid to recreate a different cell that you want to out of an existing one, all wirelessly. And they've been able to do it since 2005, y'all, commercially speaking. When I say commercially, do y'all know what that means? That means not only is it tested, not only is it public, but it's tested and public and available for resale. Since 2005, we 23 hours, 22 hours and 27 minutes away from 2025. That's 20 years ago, y'all. Yes, Garden Moose, frequency can alter your body, does alter your body. And if you ask me, now it makes more sense why my video got fact checked a long time ago. Because I didn't know what I know now, but I knew, well, if they do an problem reaction solution and the reaction is so tech managed and the solution is so tech oriented, I don't know, y'all. Maybe the problem is pretty tech oriented too. That's all I knew at the time. I said that. I said, you look up the symptoms for radiation poisoning and all of them overlap with the COVID symptoms. Shut down, fact check. You can't say that. Turns out I was hovering over the mark at the time and I didn't even know it. I was just kind of like, I don't know, y'all. I don't think you can really see a thing when you're inside of the thing. If you're in some cult, some religious cult, and all your friends and family and your peer groups like, bro, that's a cult. You need to get out of that. You don't see it when you're in the cult. Okay, you can't evaluate the cult from within. You have to kind of emotionally detach from it. Then you can begin to evaluate it. If you're a doctor and you're in the middle of, peer review process and labeling up in your university, you're not trying to challenge your industry to the degree that you should have done leading into this scam-demic. And many doctors I know got completely duped. Not everyone, but a lot of them, because they're too far in it to evaluate it. When you in politics and you working in and around politicians, y'all just act, that's your industry. You just can't always see how stepping out of it, oh yeah, this whole, nothing ever gets done and it's really a banker's thing anyway at the end. Okay, got it. So y'all just puppets, okay? But do you, boo. Get your little congressional whatever. Thank you, Huey. I appreciate that. So what I'm trying to say here is that we're entering into this new era. Now, I'm going to play this clip and I'm going to probably end on this little section because I want y'all to recognize that this internet of ... Let's go with, where is that other? Not this one. Oh, wait, it's right here. Okay, this is not my clip. I downloaded this from someone else. This is about a 3-minute clip of a lady speaking about the recent drama on X, Twitter, relating to Elon Musk basically flipping the script. Now,
if you are not on X or Twitter,
what she says is so key.
If you are not on X or Twitter, let me update you to the absolute drama that has been unfolding over the past few days, and it all centers around Captain Brainship over here. Now, I'm not going to go into all the nitty-gritty details, but there is a debate going on over the H-1B visas, which essentially allow companies to hire foreign labor. There's a lot of concern over this, wondering if companies are just abusing this program, essentially, bypassing hiring American workers so they can just hire cheap foreign labor. Now, this is where the drama started to unfold. So he essentially said that anybody who opposes this program should be removed from the Republican Party root and stem. He went on further to say the contemptible fools I'm referring to are those in the Republican Party who are hateful, unrepentant racists. They will absolutely be the downfall of the Republican Party if they are not removed. Essentially saying, if you don't get on board with this, you're out. Oh, both Elon and Vivek just telling Americans how we're dumb and untrainable, so they need to import 85,000 plus H-1B work visa workers to exploit for cheap labor, and us Americans need to either be okay with it or be removed from the movement we've been building since 2016. Elon is pissed that Americans don't care about profits and that we care about our own countrymen. He really did not hold back. The reason I'm in America, along with so many critical people who built SpaceX, Tesla, and hundreds of other companies that made America strong, is because of H-1B. Take a big step back and, in the face, I will go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot comprehend. Y'all can read this on your own, but the major issue is what happened to America first, what happened to Americans and American workers first. And this is for anybody who says that Trump would not support this. He came out obviously today and said that he very clearly does. It's really interesting to watch these two who are now joined at the hip in every single thing that they do, move forward. And I'm wondering if more true colors will start to shine through as we move into 2025. There's a lot of people that are disappointed in Elon. They feel betrayed by him and wondering how could he do this to the American people. And to that, I would say, how did you not see it before? I'm sorry, but the truth is right in front of your face if you have eyes to see. He is one of the richest men in the world. He controls AI essentially, and we know what AI is. He openly says he's an alien, and we know what aliens are. And he wants to put a chip in your brain. Wake up. Elon Musk is not betraying you. He never was your ally to begin with. And the fact that you ever felt any type of camaraderie with a billionaire who wants to implant your brain is 100% your own fault. It's honestly time people wake up. It's time that we realize that the evil that is going to be presented to the world is in sheep's clothing. It is wolves in sheep's clothing. It is not evil that comes, on the scene in red flames and pitchforks. It's evil that is disguised as everything that you ever.
It's not. It's evil that is disguised as everything you ever
wanted. It all centers around Captain Brainchip.
Okay, so she's.
Now,
I don't want to play the whole video, but y'all finally
details,
got to hear. I have to say this because this is so
essentially allow
perfectly
to hire foreign labor. There's a lot of concern over this, wondering if companies are just abusing
what Elon is saying. This whole thing is about this visa conversation. He's saying
so they can just hire.
I'll go to. This is a hill I'm basically willing to die on because I don't honestly know who the girl is. She did a great presentation on that issue. I'll have to look her up. I'm not sure who she is. I think I saw the person who I saw reposted her post. I don't actually know who that girl is, but the reason I felt so compelled to download that particular post and share it was because I'm going, Vivek and Elon, right? Vivek and Elon, right? An Indian American and a South African Canadian non-American are influencing policy on American politics that don't actually put Americans first. And when challenged on that, he's like, F y'all, I'll shut y'all up and blow y'all whole house down. Screw this. This is a hill I'm willing to die on because I'm here because of that. I'm basically about to run the world with the president because of this visa structure. So y'all not going to take a dump on this. That's essentially what he's saying. The reason why that's getting bureaucratically introduced, this whole conversation is about destroying national identities. Go do any research on Elon's father. This dude wanted to create grandfather. This dude wanted to create the technate. Yeah, holla at Jody, see if you can get him on, because I love his perspective. What he calls the technate, this Canada, America, North and South America, whole country as one. That's what they trying to do, only they're not just trying to do this side of the world. They want to do it to the whole world at the same time. And they have all kinds of technologies that they publicly tell you about to distract from all the technologies that they don't tell you about. I think we're so far past what people really think is possible. And it has a lot to do with the hijacking of history and the capturing of the science, and then later the capturing of the regulatory agencies. But the reason we're in this critical juncture is because they're transitioning the internet to run on human bodies. And y'all can call that a conspiracy theory if you want, but people are feeling it in real time. They don't know what they're feeling. They're going to get checked out. The doctor don't know what it is. Certain embalmers and morticians are coming back with anomalous clots, but I don't think that the point was just to inject some crazy thing that turns into a crazy blood clot. It was to run the internet off of you, and that person just happened to get hit with too many requests at once, or his body was reproducing the input-output signals or the DNA components that become the input-output signals a little too quick because of where them LNPs landed up in that bloodstream based on that biodistribution study. But I'm trying to find this middle ground between oversimplified and over complexified to explain what's going on. They are done with traditional pharma. So championing Anthony Fauci to systematically go through, or not Fauci, but RFK or anybody connected to the presidency, to go through Health and Human Services and uproot and squeegee out the thing. What? So that while Westworld robots is taking over and the computer bots or AI is taking all the jobs, and Elon's already been like, oh yeah, I know I got Tesla, I know I got SpaceX, I know I got Twitter, I know I got Neuralink, I know I got Starlink. I'm doing a boring company, we got a truck company, I got a whole, I changed the game in all these industries. But I'm a little bored, and even somehow I managed to find all the time for all these kids I got and to be in the public eye 24/7. But what I believe he's done in taking the responsibility and the workload off of NASA is engineers happen, they do a thing. NASA becomes the face for the expression of that thing. They did that back in the day, and they served their red herring purpose. Their distraction purpose was what went on in 1969. What they've been doing since then is their primary purpose once removed. They have a bad brand now, and because they kind of lied to the American public for a long time, they're untrustworthy. So now a more trustworthy person, this billionaire named Elon Musk, is presenting and taking over control of what they do. But now the conversation isn't just about rockets to the moon. It's about the internet and cars and interconnected things and tunnel boring systems and connecting Las Vegas to Los Angeles all underground. It's this whole other endeavor because that's what they was always trying to do this whole time anyway. He's just frontlining it, mainlining it, being the spokesman for, the face of a series of technologies he did not create. He mostly, or for companies he mostly did not found. And yeah, Space Force is a terahertz network with nano satellites to the moon. It's a terahertz network that engages with the wide body area network, which is a gigahertz network that bootstraps down to a megahertz network that hooks up with satellites that operate somewhere between the megahertz and gigahertz range. If you look at the spec for 5G, it's something in the range of 3.6 megahertz. No, sorry. 600 megahertz to 300 gigahertz, I think it is. 4G LTE is somewhere in the general range of 4.6 gigahertz. So it's at the lower end of the gigahertz section. Starlink is 18 gigahertz. Verizon's 5G is 28 gigahertz. Don't quote me on the numbers. I forgot. I read this a while ago. But they all have their specific frequencies allotted by the FCC. But the terahertz networks are all about getting information here so that eventually these little earbuds that look like little white things here, they're gone. It's just a Bluetooth-based connection. Now, ask me why the IEEE decided to design Bluetooth and ratify it to the standard of 802.15.4. What? Wait, hold on. So you're telling me this keyboard right here, this little strip on the edge of the keyboard is putting out this Bluetooth signal, right? And that Bluetooth signal is 2 points away in the same working group, the 802.15 working group, as defined as Bluetooth, but that's 802.15.4, but 802.15.6 is my wireless body area network, meaning when I hit a button on this keyboard and it emits this little pulse, this little very thin signal out of this little strip that's not metal so that the signal can actually get out, and it emits that signal is very, very close in frequency to the signal that I emit from myself. Arthur Bro said, how do I know all this stuff? Bro, I guess what they call autodidactic. I don't know. I'm interested in this stuff. I was a computer science major going into school. I ended college with a telecommunications degree. I didn't think I was working in the industry that I majored in. Turns out I'm interested in this stuff because when I read into it and I go, Holy smokes, you guys. I think they're lying to us again. I think that they're hiding some seriously advanced technology. And from what I'm coming to find out, as I back up and I start to just chew on this person's work for a few months, chew on this person's work for a few months, chew on this person's work, I come back to the table and I'm going, you guys, there's experts all around, but y'all experts need to start talking to each other because they done compartmentalize everything and everybody's playing catch up to the game, including me. I just found out about this wide body area network about a year ago. They've been working on it for 100 years. I only found out about it a year ago. Bringing me back to my little diagram here. So again, we're not going to get into, like, I would always hear people talk about Tartaria. I'm like, what? Tartaria, like, what is that? Where is Tartaria? Like, I don't like what does that even mean? I hear all these people talking about mud floods, Tartaria. It wasn't until I started seriously engaging with that subculture of information that I'm like, holy smokes, they're lying about the history. I mean, I knew that, but like, they're like lying, like big time lying, like some really big lies. And it has a lot to do with just recent. It's a lot more recent than I want people to understand. I know it's like basically impossible to follow this backward. So I'm going to flip the camera, keep flipping it back and forth. But I said there's this whitewashing that happened where all these brown and indigenous aboriginal folk just get represented in movies looking blonde haired and blue eyed when they weren't, not in the West anyway, not in America. Not at first, not in this time, right? The whole concept of Native Americans being around here means that Native Americans was here too. You see what I'm saying? We just weren't allowed to know that. They didn't talk about this major reset. I don't know what it was. I honestly don't. The camera is having a hard time deciding which camera it wants to use. All right, pick one. There we go. This major reset here, this is, I'm still zeroing in on exactly what happened, but all the evidence from all the different sectors, it points to this just void, this massive change in the story that happens here. And so I want people to understand that if anybody is living here and they think that a politician is ending what was only established here, I need you to understand that there were plans made here, here, and here that are still on trajectory that don't have anything to do with draining swamps or making America healthy again. That is, America wasn't ever really that healthy. And I mean, they were healthy just fine when it was indigenous, you know. Make America healthy again, great, but if you just stop spraying nanobots on everything living, maybe health will find us. You know what I'm saying? It's just a red herring, y'all. In order to make yourself healthy, this is a personal choices, personal responsibility, not RFK's job, not Donald Trump's job, not Elon Musk's job, personal responsibility. I used to have this whole separatist idea, like, I'm just going in the woods, I'm going to live in a cave by myself. I'm coming to learn, I just don't think that that's viable because I don't think that this is the end of the world. I just think it's the end of the world as we know it. The transhuman agenda is fully live. The technocracy is fully live. That's what Donald Trump represents. That's what Elon Musk represents in adjacent with Donald Trump. These people are simply doing the bidding of the financiers that back their endeavors. Period. I ain't even mad at Trump. I'm not a hater. I'm not a Trump hater. I'll be like, why y'all so mad at this dude? Like all y'all people who hate Trump, y'all be hating him for the wrong reasons. All the stuff y'all say he done, that's just what they saying. They lying. All y'all people who like Trump, why? What's he gonna do for you? He don't relate to you. I still maintain that his stock went through the roof when some bullet just basically grazed past his ear and didn't bruise or leave any sort of evidence of being there. But thank you. I could listen to these rants all day. That's funny. It's the end of the world as we know it. That's what I'm really trying to say here, y'all. I'm trying to say this is a controlled demolition. Don't take these little micro wins as like some sort of renaissance of America being made great again. America was great. The region we call America was great until some sort of situation happened that destabilized the world. People in certain parts of what we call the Tartarian kingdom that hails out of the Russia area fared slightly better than other Moorish people closer to my complexion, otherwise called Native American, later called Copperhead, later called Negro, later called niggers, later called African Americans. These types of people were here much longer than they want us to believe. They want us to believe that everybody here, like that somehow, even though fair-skinned people don't generally call themselves Native American, that somehow they are native to America. And the people whose aunties and great aunties and grandmas was like, oh yeah, baby, we got some Cherokee in the family, that we not native to America. We come from Africa. Even though my grandma says she was Cherokee and ain't no Cherokees in Africa. So there's just a whole lot of lies. Black people who extend, American blacks anyway, who extend by and large from Native American, Aboriginal, indigenous tribes, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Spanish, Latin, Latino. These are like cousins and derivatives of the native Aboriginals that were here. They lived harmoniously with other races and cultures in this greater kingdom. Something happened that destabilized both, and the West got it a little worse than the East. Yeah, the West got it a little worse than the Far East. And the kingdom that hailed out of the Far East that then took up root in Europe and England, that then took up root in the New World, is all about inverting history, inverting everything. You know, inverting the direction of the slave trade, giving us movie after movie after movie after movie after propaganda after propaganda after propaganda to tell us that we come from 12 Years a Slave, from Amistad, from Django Unchained, from, Roots, or all these different movies we've seen reinforcing this entire fraudulent slave narrative. Completely fraudulent. And I think that the reason they're doing it is to hide the kingdoms and the technologies and the proliferation that was here without a centralized oversight body. And that centralized oversight body is a I don't know. It's not. It's not one race at all. It's one ideology and one spiritual ideology. If that's poison and entirely rotten, if you ask me. But it's not one race. So I don't get into like who it is because it changes over the years. The reason I'm coming at this pleasantly knowing me. I know I covered a lot of ground. So if I was confusing about the slave trade, what I'm trying to say is, was the slave trade real? Yes. Have they overblown the significance and the scope of it to such a large degree? Yes. It's like COVID. You see what I'm saying? A couple people might have had what maybe wasn't a cold or radiation poisoning. Who knows? But it wasn't a global deadly pandemic. See what I'm saying? Yes. Settlers came here, shipped a bunch of brown natives to the West, following the ocean currents. Keep in mind, because there were no, as far as we know with the slave trade, there were no powered ships. So everything sails from the Ivory Coast and Cote d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso and like that kind of Western African tip down through the currents down into South America, Brazil, Honduras, Puerto Rico, Haiti. That's who got 99.9% of all the slaves. But half of them slaves came as transplants from the Western world to begin with. So they essentially just told the slave trade story in reverse. And people refer to the kingdom of the Moors. I had heard about the Moors for years. I just couldn't place them in a time window until very recently. And the long and short of it is, Hollywood is about taking something very small and inflating it huge. Taking a small concept, an idea, write it down, get some actors. Actors are like 5'1", tiny people. And then, the superheroes, some CG, some explosions, some effects. And now people are watching it on IMAX theaters across the world. That's Hollywood's trick, right? To take something small and inflate it big. I'm telling y'all, they've been doing this with history and math and numbers and science. You might as well just take a comma and a 1 off of every number they've given us. At least a comma and a 1. If they say it was 1,000 years old, it's probably 100 years old. If they say, oh, this is from 4000 BC, it's from 400 years ago. If it inflates scope, and that causes this rift in the tangibility and the approachability and accessibility. They introduce, carbon dating and all these different fossilized ways of, oh, this is a petrified rock. Oh, not really. You see what I'm saying? Tricks don't need to last forever because it's not about the trick. The other thing, and the last thing that I'll say for people is it's not about money. It's not about greed. Pfizer wasn't doing what they were doing in the ultimate sense because of money. Pfizer had plenty of money and they get paid in all kinds of ways that people don't realize. This was about creating a global experiment to introduce broadband internet input-output to human bodies under false pretenses, under the pretenses of saving you from a deadly virus that wasn't that deadly, that doesn't even exist. What does exist is computer viruses. What is a computer virus, Chris? For all my non-nerds out there, here's what a computer virus is. A computer virus is code, actual code that some person or AI writes that creates instructions that cause the program that code is loaded onto to perform in a different way than how it was originally intended. If I write a computer program that says, hit this button, power up, load up Microsoft Windows, and somebody comes in and says, okay, when you power up, instead of loading Microsoft Windows, reroute all the data to this specific IP address and don't say anything in the background. That is a basic concept of a virus. It's just actual code written to give separate instructions. No isolation necessary, no microscopes necessary. If you ask me, the whole concept of a human virus was about muddying the waters between the biological derivatives they were creating that may or well be called viruses, because the whole point was to create a computer virus for your body's genetic code. Manipulating it via deoxyribonucleic acid that's adjustable from magnets and electronic stimulation, since it's acidic and therefore electric. We are electric. The body is electric. Your biofield is electric. You have energy flowing through you, intuition, premonition, precognition, empathy, sympathy. These are all electrically readable on machines. These things are we're in such an electrically dependent world that I'm spending time tonight saying, people, pay attention to the context of this world we live in. It's all computer based. It's all electronics based. The control is computer and electronics based. If you don't understand computers and electronics, it's okay. Not everybody needs to, but start actually paying attention to what the wide body area network is. Start looking for some of these people speaking out in very professional and direct ways that are not mealy mouthing it to you. Take this detox protocol and all of your symptoms and all the nanotechnology will be gone from you. No, it won't. Number 2, it'll just get reinfused over time. Number 3, nanotechnology is not the only way they do what they do. There is optogenetics, epigenetics, CRISPR, actual mRNA, and other types of gene therapies stuck in things that they shouldn't be. There's all kinds of things coming at us. The best solutions, get organic, get local, figure out how to actually provide for yourself once. That's what I'm doing. I'm not an expert at it. I haven't mastered it, but it is where my compass is oriented, because I simply just don't trust the leadership. And I think a lot of people don't. But I think that the timeline, I will do a timeline dive. I just want people to understand, because of this destabilization of the world at some point not that long ago, a new his story has been written. And that new his story is about not telling you about the body part relating to your sixth sense, so that they can use that body part to hijack you to basically wirelessly do exactly what the Matrix. You remember that scene when Neo is in the pink goo and all those hoses and he sits up, he's like, and he pulls all the stuff out and he hits the flush button and all the hoses pop out and he goes down the egg tube. Yeah, they're kind of doing that in an allegorical sense, using your biofield, not using hoses physically plugged into your chest, but basically like plasma, kind of like a plasmonic version of that same thing wirelessly. They're using you like a human battery. Yes, Jody, you are 100% correct. Dreams of Queen 11, she said pineal. Yes, it's relating to your pineal, but it's not exclusively. The pineal isn't the body part. Think of the pineal more like the concentration nexus, or the maybe like the regulator inside the system, right? Like your ear is definitely responsible for hearing, but it's not the only body part relating to hearing. You see what I'm saying? Your eye is definitely related to hearing, but so are your nerves. Your eye isn't relating to touch, but your nerves are. But your hearing is kind of also related to your nerves and your smell too. So the pineal is related. It's just not the exclusive body part. The body part is called your biofield. They just don't want you to know it exists. It's a wireless 30-foot or so donut around you. It's responsible for your immune system. I've heard people say, you don't have an immune system. I remember being like, what are y'all talking about? Of course you have an immune system. What do you mean? We don't. We have a lymphatic system, we have an endocrine system, and we have a nervous system. And the biofield interfaces with all three of those, collectively keeping us immune. So you could call the nickname for four systems coalescing in one your immune system, but it is not a distinct separate thing. And I had to learn that. I didn't understand that at first. Your cardiovascular system plays a big part in this because they use the currents and the flow of the energy in your body to actually process the IO, your carotid and your aorta, sending your blood in basically one general direction around your body that creates a magnetic field. It's very weak, but those terahertz signals know how to pick it up and just relay just enough information to the next cell over for the next biomarker so that the next actual biosensor could relay the information up the chain. And they've been doing this for 30 years. It's been live since 95. We're in 2025. It's time to wake up. It's time to catch up to speed. Boom. Biofield, Aura, Energy Body, Li-Fi, LoRaWAN. You know, there's all kinds of technologies that are essentially relating radio frequencies and electronic frequencies in this general window. Cassie is right. The heart is an energy vortex. We used to say the heart is a pump. No, your lungs are the pump. The heart is the valve. The valve is like a vortex. It's like wound up like a vortex. And it's creating this electric signal in this torsion, kind of like torsion type field. And that is creating electromagnetic properties that can be adjusted. Now, we'll get into it in a separate conversation, exactly how and exactly who, but it's a bigger system going on. And the only reason I dipped into the whole Tartarian, Atlantean, antediluvian, but pre-mud flood era is to say, you guys, history shows that technology ain't new, and they simply just, it seems that we go through these cycles of withholding technology, introducing it, living off that technology freely, and then something happening where some sort of subjugation comes back into the conversation, and then the cycle continues. We're at the end of one aspect of a cycle. I do not believe we're heading into some crazy age of utopia, but we might be heading into the inverse of what COVID was, which is this kind of like false, awakening that they allow so that the real teeth can clamp down in 2028, leading right into 2030, which is their stated agenda goals, 2030. It's not this, nothing happens and then 2029 comes in December 31st, 2029, and boom, now we're in our goals. It's this linear growth toward the goals. And I think that this, hey, we don't mean free technology for everybody. Like, see, we got the cabal out of the way. Now you can trust us, is exactly what they've been barely trying to do. I mean, barely holding together in their attempts at deceiving. And videos like the one I played earlier of Musk essentially saying, I will silence anyone who disagrees with me, is evidence for the fact that he wasn't trying to give you no free speech in the first place, y'all. He's trying to level up. BRICS is the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa financial core alliance. Ask me why the South African man is standing there next to the president, arm in arm with the president. Like, y'all was on the phone with Mr. S in BRICS, and we working together. I mean, I know that the BRICS alliance is essentially replacing the financial alliance of the Federal Reserve hegemony and the whole Rockefeller dynasty. But he does have a rocket in Mars or something like that. Separate conversation, separate day. Mars and space and outer space and aliens and orbs and time travel, all these things are concepts that they want to model within the computer system. Space might as well be server space at this point. Space Force, this new division of the military, yeah, they're not in outer space pointing lasers anywhere. They're on the internet managing and governing cyberspace using remote viewing sensibilities, which are psychic powers? Well, not necessarily. Human psionic abilities hijacked, repurposed with augmented synthetic biology so that they can log into the WBAN or the M-band or any of the other like derivative Wi-Fi networks. I say Wi-Fi just for familiarity, but wireless networks that certain augmented humans can already log into. Yes, already. And they're just hoping that you and your kids go along. In fact, they're not even hoping that you go along. They're just hoping that your kids go along. Or that you're too asleep, so you go ahead and put all the computer chips in the kids that they told you was a conspiracy theory and it couldn't happen. And activate. They lying, y'all. They lying. All right, I'm gonna go, but I'll come back and I'll explain more because I'm sitting here like I do like talking about this. I just know they don't want me to, and I want to present it in a way that's digestible. It's just a lot. It's a lot of stuff. Yes, Zoe J. This will be uploaded from the beginning. Yeah, it's just kind of like if it doesn't make sense, if you're like, why is Musk doing what he's doing? Why is Trump doing what he's doing? It's because they don't need the old system to work anymore. Don't even bother with these little micro wins they're giving you on Fauci or Pfizer or anything like that. These are like micro W's, like nanoscopic wins that won't matter in the bigger scheme of things because the bigger scheme of things is about the Internet of Bodies that's already live. Who doesn't want me to talk about it? The very people hijacking these services and steamrolling the internet to be transitioned off of servers and computers in underground rooms and onto the human body. The bigger network of just anybody who would be willing to help mitigate that. Because think of it, every person that says, shielding, detox, you're not using my body as a computer, that's one less computer on the network. One less server on the node. Even Elon Musk was asking in an interview, so where do you see the Optimus and the humanoid robots? Well, I believe, he can't put his he can't do an M. He can't actually say Musk. He got to say Musk. Well, you see, I believe that by the year 2040, there will be roughly the same amount of humanoid robots walking around Earth as there are humans. So what, about 10 billion? Yeah, give or take 10 billion. We're going to be bringing these things to market at $25,000 to $30,000 a pop. Yo, this dude, you could get your own personal robot for the price of a Toyota Corolla out the gate. I don't even like Elon Musk, but I'm like, where the sign up link? I ain't got to do. I can just clean my room, make me some food, have it ready by this time. Don't use these ingredients. Use these ingredients. Make it interesting. Don't shut up. Don't say nothing. I can do that. The answer is yes, and they want this Westworld like transhuman reality that they're selling about the quadriplegics and the paraplegics and all the vision restoration and the neuro regenerative, all the beauties of the Neuralink. Never mind, the actual general baseline for it is to allow for entirely synthetic biology. They don't need Neuralink to be in you to allow you to do Neuralink type things. They do need Neuralink to be in synthetically created biological entities in order to do that. Or I say Neuralink just for the familiarity, but something like that. So we'll talk more about it later, but I just don't really trust what they've got cooking for 2025. And if you ask me, it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride as we transition from the present financial system into this digital blockchain-based financial system, which I do believe is well underway. And it's it's full steam ahead, and I just don't trust any of the players that are the primary spokespeople for what we're calling or being told is a freedom, a renaissance to make America healthy or make America great. They're not trying to do that at all. They're trying to make America into a half computer, half robot world that could be called great in their new model as they try to do this to the entire world. Healthy is all about just digital biohealth. They're tanking the pharma industry and funding the psychedelic industry tenfold over because now Mario, Toad, and them Chinese and Japanese, they've been on them shrooms for a minute. The pharma stuff, that was a West Coast hustle. The new hustle is about modifying biological life and fusing it with you and allowing you to do that on your upgraded synthetically accessible cloud-based derivative. Never mind the whole Apple Vision Pro. That's just a stopgap. I got to wear some thick glasses with a battery and a cord. They just doing that because it's just until we get to the actual, we don't need the things no more. But they got to let you in on the reality of it in the meantime. So I'll leave it there for now. I don't have any advice one way or the other about crypto. I'm not in that market. If I would have bought when I first would have bought it, I probably would because I've had like 6 or 7 Bitcoin at this point. But I just missed the boat on it, and so I never paid too much attention to it until more recently. So I can't say don't buy Bitcoin or don't buy crypto or buy crypto. I can simply say don't trust crypto. I don't trust the US dollar. Don't trust it. Trust yourself. Trust God. Trust the earth. Don't trust these systems, right? One power bloop away and all that money is just inaccessible all of a sudden. Solutions. I do believe there's mitigation. One of the person I learned the most about the Biofield, her solution is to understand your body parts. Like if you have an arm and they've been hijacking your arm and you never knew what an arm was, maybe it's time to learn how to use your arm. I got an arm. What does it do? How do I extend it? Oh, okay. I go like this. Oh, I can turn like this. Okay. What else can I do? Oh, I can punch. Oh, that's great. It's about learning how your body part works. People have a body part, and when you can control it, you can make the hair in your arm stand up. The electrical signals attenuate or elongate or not on your body, which allows for you to mitigate the electronic lock that they have. Now they could relock and you could re-mitigate. But, this is a war that's happening in real time. Like nobody goes into war with the entire solution of how to always dodge the enemy up front every time. Like that's not a thing. It's war. I don't know what to tell you other than to say, learn about the trick so that you're not swinging like this and you can actually see for a second, oh, okay, this is what they're doing. So with that, y'all have a good night. The exercise remind me of the show, the OA. Yeah, exactly. The original Angel. I liked that show, the OA. But just understand that I think we're heading through this weird zone and nothing's going to really make sense because the news is all about arguing over things that don't matter. I'm listening to these doctors, this neurologist and these, molecular biologists talk about some of the revelations they've had of what they're seeing inside these doink, doink, doinks from the what. And I'm always like, if y'all, I think y'all are just looking at synthetic biology of different types with no name on the public side. And that synthetic biology is manifesting like self-assembling XYZ or self-replicating XYZ or basically, nanobots of some sort of, shape or form or function. And it's not specifically to kill you. It's not specifically to be a bioweapon. It's specifically to be a new function of this new realm. Almost, you might as well call it a realm because it will be a reality. The metaverse is like a whole thing. It's like an actual 802.15.6 accessible location on a server room now that will eventually be decentralized, so that instead of my computer having to go downstairs to go down to the thing to hit the DNS server, to hit the fiber optic cable, to hit the relay, it don't got to do none of that no more. It's peer-to-peer, direct-to-direct, and they say, well, it's matters of national security. Because of national security, because we're now running actually sensitive data on who knows whose body, deltoid, kneecap, butt cap, who knows, right? We need to make sure this data is secure. So there's a whole security protocol layer that's affecting people's health worldwide. And yes, there are pilot cities, and yes, the smart cities play into this, the freedom cities too, but it's just so much more than 5G, y'all. It's just 5G was one step in it. 5G is the physical gap closing needing to make their 6, 7, 8, and further Gs viable, because 5G, like 4G, was just an iteration. 3G was just an iteration. 2G was just an iteration. And so all these iterations are coalescing not for just the telecom companies to make more money, but so that this ultimate fruition can be expressed, which is this Internet of Things and bodies, which I think we're already there. So don't let them tell you it's a tinnitus ringing in the ear. Don't let them tell you it's blood pressure. Some people can hear the signals. They can just hear it. It's just like, ring! Like out of nowhere. Like, oh my God, that sounds like something electronic, non-biological. You can just hear it. And there's just a ton of gaslighting going on. So with that, y'all, we'll talk about it. iOB and T, right? Internet of Bio Nano Things. Jody gets it. Jody gets it. And Jody gets it. So I hope y'all do. Okay. Peace, love, and toast. I've already had a heavy feeling the past couple of days. Now I have this hopeless feeling again. Don't feel hopeless. Try not to. I get it. I go through times like that. I really do, especially lately. But consider the fact that you now know that this exists one step better than everybody else in your life who has no clue that this is going on, but it's affecting them too. Now, yes, it's a bit sad to realize this, but it's one step closer to like, okay, all right, put me in the game, coach, suit me up, put my helmet on, get my strap right. All right, I'm ready. I got my stick, I got my club, I got my glove, whatever the sport, and I'm ready to fight. And I'm hoping that that everybody's ready to fight, because I do believe that you might have to do that. It seems that way. Every record of a historical conquest has met people who have had to fight for their life in some capacity or another. And I think we're just at another one of those junctures. So thank you guys for listening. I'm going to hang it up here. You know, Bryce is right. You can't talk about this. They think you're a cuckoo. You're right. But like, hit them up with, oh, I'm cuckoo? Why is there, what is the IEEE? What is the WBAN, the Wireless Body Area Network? What is that? Am I cuckoo, or is the person who made this Wikipedia entry, are they cuckoo? Right? Which one? Is the International Standards Organization of Electrical Engineers and Electronics, are they cuckoo, or maybe there's just something going on than we're told, right? If all of my senses have a body part and I have a sixth sense, is there a body part involved, or are we just not talking about that? Because right now it's busy uploading Amazon Web Services. Yes, the DoD signed a contract in 2017 with Amazon to process Amazon Web Services on people's bodies. So yes, certain websites, not all, but certain ones, are already running off certain people's butt cheeks. And with that, hopefully your butt cheeks are data free. Okay, y'all have a good night. And with that, you guys, I'll catch you soon.